Okay, time to show evidence that Officer Marshall was in there with that piece of cloth that I saw when it panned by that was sticking out and wasn't sticking out before he went in there. Okay then, allow me to point out your mistake, Officer Marshall. Tread carefully, Mr. Wright, or you might wind up being the one making the mistake. Now then, let's have another look at the video. Show us the incriminating evidence of the witness, Officer Jake Marshall. Okay, back. He's there opening a locker. Yeah, he goes in, the fight happens. He's knocked out. And now there's something sticking out of his locker. And that wasn't there before. If I go back, it wasn't there. And now it is there. And that's his locker, because that's where the bloody fingerprint was, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, there was bloody finger, because there was the normal fingerprints like somewhere over here on one of these lockers, and then this one had the almost faded fingerprints that were tried to be smudged off. So this sticking out right there presents. Bringing our attention back to the security camera is a mistake I'm afraid you'll soon not forget, Officer Marshall. The days are short in Texas, and so are tempers. Could you sum up what you have to say in 8 words or less? Very well. That was 2. Wait, you can clearly be seen in this video. Okay. Exactly 8 words. Not bad, partner. The key lies in a certain locker shown in the video. See this locker that has a white cloth sticking out? This is the witness's locker. Why is the judge saying that? I thought Phoenix would say. This happens a lot. So weird. Whatever. Now then, let's rewind the video a bit. I think I actually paid attention to the video a little bit, like small details in it. I noticed quite a few things, which is quite nice. Oh, the white cloth, it's gone. What's the meaning of this, Officer Marshall? When the crime took place, the white cloth wasn't there. Then it suddenly appeared. There's only one explanation. Officer Marshall, you were in the evidence room at the time of the crime. What's more, you opened your locker when the camera was turned away. Order, order. It would seem that's the only... Hold your horses. Sorry, partner. But you got the wrong man. So what if my locker was open? That doesn't mean I'm the one who opened it, but it does. It was locked. The murderer needed to hide something, so he opened the locker and stuck it in. It's not my fault you happened to choose mine. Why is everyone staring at me? Like I'm a wanted man. It's the fingerprints. This guy isn't just playing dumb. He really doesn't know. Yeah, he doesn't know about the fingerprints, does he? I hate to rain on your parade, but you're the only person who can open that particular locker. Oh yeah? I call you a bluff. You say I opened that locker. Now prove it. Where's the locker itself? I think that's what I need to present. It's got the fingerprint lock on it, right? Each locker is unlocked using a detective's fingerprint. Yeah. That's what I'm gonna go for. Fingerprint Santa. We talked about this earlier today. The lockers can only be opened by detectives they belong to. What kind of crazy talk is that? Well, Detective Gumshoe did mention something about this. In any case, the locks aren't that obvious. There's even some people in the force that don't know about the fingerprint locks. So, Sheriff, what do you have to say in 8 words or less? I only got 1 word for you, partner. That was 8 words, too. Ah, covered. No! Order, order, order. Witness, explain yourself. If this is a joke, it's the worst I've ever heard. I assure you this is no joke, Officer Marshall. Oh, I messed up my headset. Okay, there we go. I assure this is no joke, Mr. Marshall, Officer Marshall. Now then, please tell us what you were doing in the evidence room at the time of the crime. Ole. Ole? Why Ole, Judge? Whatever. Ole, please answer the question. What is he now, a bullfighter? That's a right, Officer Marshall. I believe we can figure out the rest out from here. We can? Have a look at these floor plans. There's no place for someone to hide in the evidence room. Yet Officer Meekins didn't see Officer Marshall. If that's so, then where was the witness? It seems Mr. Wright has an answer. That's right. The only possible conclusion. Well then, let's hear it. Oh, it's gonna maybe show on the floor plan? Where was Officer Marshall at the time of the crime? Well, since Meekins was the murderer, and I think Goodman dressed up as the victim, it was Goodman. He was dressed up as Goodman, wasn't he? Yeah, because if I'm remembering Meekins' story, he ran in, the second time he ran in, because he saw somebody on the security camera, but he didn't know Goodman himself. So he asked who you were, and he asked for an ID card, which was the first thing he did, and he got attacked. And so the reason he got attacked would probably be because Marshall wasn't supposed to be in there, so he got scared because he doesn't actually have an ID card. It's a Goodman ID card, but Goodman's ID card has Goodman's picture on it, so he wouldn't be able to present that. So, yeah, you were in the victim spot. Officer Marshall was standing right there, right here. There? But that's where the victim, Detective Goodman, was. Correct, unless the man wasn't Detective Goodman. I believe the victim in the video is Officer Marshall. It was you who dressed up like Detective Goodman. But that's preposterous. Officer Meekins witnessed the detective at the crime scene. Once he saw the man's face, he'd know for sure. May I point out, though, that Officer Meekins did not know Detective Goodman. He also testified about the man's reaction when he confronted. When I entered the evidence room, sir, I asked him to show his card, sir. Yes, and how did Detective Goodman respond? He suddenly pulled out a knife on me, sir. Something about the officer's story puzzled me. If the man had his ID card, why didn't he just show it? Yes, he would have needed it to enter the evidence room, so he must have been carrying it. The answer is simple. He couldn't show it. As you see, Detective Goodman's picture is on his ID card. Oh, I get it. If he showed this, his cover would have been blown. Officer Meekins would have realized the man was the Detective Goodman. Do you have anything to say to this, Officer Marshall? You've got quite an imagination, partner. We got a term for that. It's called circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence? He's still denying it. You're gonna have to do better than that to break a detective. Unless you have hard evidence proving that I dressed up as the victim. Huh. I can't say I particularly care for your uncooperative disposition. I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining. Well, Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that Officer Marshall dressed up as a victim? Yeah, I think the judge hates him now. Well, who am I kidding? I don't have anything like that. I can see fear in your eyes, partner. Seems you're the only one who couldn't take the desert heat. This can't be happening. It's so obvious he's the one. What can I do? Huh. It looks like your lack of experience has finally been exposed. I'll pass on to you what someone told me when I was just starting out. When you run into a wall with no place to go, return to the basics. The basics? Pressing on everything? For me, that would be what Mia used to tell me. Nick, try thinking outside of the box. I shouldn't look for proof that Officer Marshall was in the disguise, but rather I should look for evidence that came about because he was in disguise. What do you think, why do you think this locker was opened in the first place? To hide the costume? What do you mean? There's no reason for Officer Marshall to open his locker at the time of the crime, yet he did despite the chances he might be discovered later as it has been. Which means he didn't originally plan to open his locker. According to the defense's arguments, Officer Jake Marshall dressed up as Detective Goodman at the scene of the crime. Then after the crime was committed, he opened his own locker for the some unknown reason to hide the to hide the coat. Goodman's shit. The fact that a white cloth is sticking out of the locker seems to indicate that he opened in order to put the cloth inside. So, just what exactly is this piece of cloth? Perhaps the video is the key to all our unanswered questions. I don't have any evidence, so the video is my only shot. Very well, let's take another look at the security tape camera. After committing the crime, the witness opened the locker to put away the white cloth. Please show us why the witness had opened his locker. Okay, let me see. He comes in. Murder there. Was the hide just like... Let's go back to the beginning real quick. Okay, so he walks in. He opens it, the glove falls out. Okay. Lunges at Meekins. Oh god, that's a lot. Oh, I didn't even notice all that blood before. Maybe he was doing it to hide the blood. Because... Oh, did he get... Yeah, I think that's when he got Meekins' hand, possibly. So, maybe he was hiding it to hide the blood that was all over him. So, I guess I can present the blood. Okay, let's present the blood. Yeah, for some reason you disguised yourself as Detective Goodman and entered the evidence room. Yeah, because it was saying he didn't originally plan on going to his locker, but since he got blood on him, because he wasn't expecting Meekins to come in, he had to hide it because he would have been caught if he went out with blood on him. Whereas he could have just walked out normally if he didn't have blood on him. And you know the evidence room, you entered the evidence room. I don't know what your reason was yet. However, something unexpected happened. Officer Meekins barged in on you. When asked to show your ID card, you pulled a knife on him. However, Officer Meekins panicked, and the white coat you were wearing was soiled with blood. A bloody white coat. You couldn't just walk out like that, so you hid the coat in your locker. Not bad, huh, partner? Now then, Officer Marshall, are you ready to tell us the truth? Looks like I underestimated y'all. I hope you're happy now, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, if you were only half as persistent as you are today, we all wouldn't have had to be here now. Now would we? Officer Marshall, tell the court what you did. All of it. All right. It seems the time has come. Witness testimony. Marshall's confession. Okay. I had to do it that day. I couldn't just stand by and let it die. I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out. I managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on the camera. There wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. So the supposed victim was really you. But there's only one thing I still don't understand. Large quantities of blood traces were found on the floor of the evidence room. If no one was murdered, then how could that be? Officer Meekins managed to cut his own hand. My guess is he's the donor. It looked like too much blood for that. Yeah, that was a lot of blood on the floor, honestly. Oh, I need more information than this, though. I guess I'll go pressing. Like, it was such a short testimony, too. Okay, so what couldn't you let die? The SL9 incident? When you say it, you mean... Do you even have to ask, partner? The SL9 incident. 2 years have passed since that case was closed. It was going to completely end with the transferal that day. Not if I had anything to do with it. That incident's not over. But what did you hope to accomplish by sneaking into the evidence room? When a case is closed, only the detective who was in charge of it can look through the evidence. I wanted to have a look at it myself one more time, no matter what the cost. I don't care what anyone says, partner. That case is mine. But Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of that investigation. Why does he care so much about it? That day was my last chance. That's why I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. How'd you get his clothing? Why did you disguise yourself as Detective Goodman? If I didn't make it look like Goodman was carrying out the evidence transferal, I'd be arrested for stealing evidence, which wouldn't get me anywhere. So you did it to fool the security camera, and used the detective's ID. I stole that the morning of the incident. So that really was why Goodman started filling out the lost item report? Okay. I returned his ID card. I left it out on the floor in the prosecutor's office parking lot. The ID card I found was left there by Officer Marshall. So essentially, you managed to succeed despite your lack of foresight. What do you mean, partner? I mean, the fingerprint. Activated lock, of course. No matter how well you disguise yourself, you can't change your fingerprints. Normally that locker shouldn't have been opened. True. Also, so it was because of a rubber glove was stuck in the door by chance. Then Detective Goodman must have opened the locker before Officer Marshall. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out. That was a little too rough. You pulled a knife on Officer Meekins and tried to drive him off? Let's just say I was a little surprised. I only planned on being in the evidence room for no more than 5 minutes. I didn't think anyone would actually come in during that short time. Officer Meekins certainly is a one-in-a-million type of person, mistaking a detective for an intruder and demanding to be shown his ID. I'll have to think a little more about his raise this year. When did Edgeworth get so much influence? Anyway, he threw himself at me and I ended up cutting him slightly. I'm sorry it had to turn out that way, with me knocking him out and everything. By the way, what happened with your knife? Oh, you mean this one? I don't know what to say. Oh, so what happened next? I managed to escape. I knew. Oh wait, I was expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out. I managed to escape. I knew the areas wouldn't be caught on the camera. What? Okay. Yeah, I'm just getting all the evidence I can out of him right now because I'm a little stumped. Just a little bit. Well, not like super stumped. I'm slowly getting the information I need, but I definitely need a lot more right now to get through this. So you did your research beforehand. Those who go into the desert unprepared don't live long, partner. I didn't think it would make a difference, though. The security tape is erased every 6 hours. If all had gone to plan, no footage would have been left. However, your bloody coat and the struggle with Officer Meekins. If someone was in the security room when I came out, the jig would have been up. I opened my locker and stashed it in there. What was Officer Meekins doing during that time? What else? He was sleeping like a baby. So what you're saying is, on that day, there wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. Got it? Yeah, what about the blood, though, on the floor? Because that wasn't just hand blood. But the blood found at the scene, certainly, crime takes place. Well, I missed the word. I'm going a little too fast. What are you, blind? The victim shown on the tape is me, and I'm not dead yet, partner. So, you stole the evidence from the locker. Actually, no, I didn't. Why not? When I opened the locker, the evidence was already gone. What? Mr. Edgeworth, where is that evidence? It's still missing, Your Honor. Detective Goodman's locker was already open. Someone else stole the evidence. Officer Marshall, may I ask you one thing? Fire away, partner. It's a free country. Just remember, I'm also free to decide whether or not to answer. Why did you do this? Stealing a detective's ID, injuring a police officer. This is no small offense. Moreover, you're an officer yourself. This will have serious consequences. It can't just be forgiven with a simple cut in salary. Not that salary cuts are even a valid solution. Like I said, this isn't your case. This one is mine. And I'll do anything it takes to get an answer I'm satisfied with. Huh. The witness has an unusual amount of zeal. Let's hear more. I can't forget the SL9 incident. You know why? Tell me why. But that case was solved 2 years ago, wasn't it? That's the reason the evidence was stored in the evidence room. Joe Dark was convicted for those crimes. One thing I can say for sure, he deserved a sentence. I remember that the Joe Dark case. It involved serial murders, didn't it? I don't intend to complain about how it turned out, but there's something that still bothers me. Something went down at the trial. Something no one will talk about. What happened? I don't know. That's why I'm trying to find out. Why is he so concerned with that incident? Maybe I should present him with what I think his real reason is. I had a feeling we'd wind up here sooner or later. Everyone involved here is related in some way to that case. I'd better take another look at the files. I had to do it that day. I just couldn't let it stand by and let it die. Okay, let me look at the case. Oh! I didn't even see that before. Neil Marshall. He lost a family member, didn't he? What page is that on? Victims. Neil Marshall. He lost a family member, didn't it? Let me present this then. The evidence clearly reveals a contradiction in that statement, Your Honor. How exactly are that and the evidence statement just now related? They aren't, are they? Wait, how did I mess that up? Not at all. Please, Mr. Wright, please think over the facts before making an accusation. Wait, what? How did I mess that up? I don't think I won any points with the judge. I thought that was the... Oh, I was on the wrong statement, wasn't I? Oh, no. I was doing so good. Oh, I was on the wrong... was I on the wrong statement? It's this one, isn't it? Oh, God, I thought I was still in the same statement. Oh, I'm so dumb. Oh, I could have gotten through this scotch-free, too. So scotch-free. I'm so bad at this game. Okay, anyway. Yes, this is the one I want to present it on. Present this one. Oh, I should not have messed up there. Officer Marshall, I think I understand. I think I know why you care so much about the SL9 incident. Sounds like you've been sipping too much cactus juice, Panda. I have the SL9 incident file here. The name, Marshall, is mentioned in here. And a list of murder victims. Neil Marshall. Are you related to this man? Neil Marshall? Yeah. I'm sure you've heard the name. 2 years ago, he received the same lousy prosecutor award you got. What? A prosecutor? You must be talking about the King of Prosecutors Award. I still can't believe I messed up there. Oh, I'm so disappointed. I was doing really good for a while. Oh well. Now, I remember, Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He handed out the SL9 case before I did. That's right. He was killed. And the case fell into your hands. But what's his relation to you? He was my brother. He was investigating the murders with Damon Gaunt, chief detective at the time. The group of detectives I was part of worked under them. We were desperate to prosecute the killer. Joe Dark. My brother fought Joe Dark and was killed. That was the first time Dark left behind any evidence. That was all we needed. He was arraigned and incarcerated. The case was finally closed, at least according to public records. What do you mean? My brother couldn't have been killed by Joe Dark. I knew my brother better than anyone. No one could have beaten him in a fight. And that's it? That's your reason for your insane actions? There's more to my brother's death than what the records say. No matter how much you try to hide it, you can't fool me. Well, at least one thing's for certain. At least one thing's for certain. Now we know what happened at the police department on the day of the crime. That was the last day of the SL9 case could be reopened. Not satisfied with its resolution, Officer Marshall planned to steal the evidence. Disguising himself as Detective Goodman, he entered the evidence room. Officer Meekins confronted him, so he rendered him unconscious and fled. Yes, this mystery has finally been cleared up. No murder took place at the police department that day. The things that happen by chance never cease to amaze me. At exactly the same time as the murder at the prosecutor's office, this fake murder was going on in the police department. Chance? It's gotta be more than just that. So, if no one was murdered at the police department on the day of the crime, that means the murder in the prosecutor's office parking lot was the real one. Which, in turn, means only one person could have committed the crime. Chief Prosecutor Lana Sky. But wait, a verdict wasn't reached in yesterday's trial. Which is why we examined the incident at the police department today. But there's only one reason the defendant was not convicted yesterday. There yet remained the mystery of the simultaneous murder at the police department. It seemed to me, this boy's got the draw on you, partner. All the mysteries at the police department have been uncovered. No contradictions remain. The murder took place at the prosecutor's office. The only suspect is Lana Sky. There were no errors in the testimony of the witness, Angel Star. If you have a response, make it one word or less. I rest my case. I'm thinking of what I can, like... Oh. It does seem this trial has reached its conclusion. There's no room for doubt. Well done, Mr. Wright. Thanks to you, I didn't need to waste my time. Disproving the alleged murder at the police department. There's no doubt what I proved today is true. The apparent murder on the security camera tape really was fake. But I didn't realize that would end up proving Lana's guilty. Now then, the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant. Hold it. Emma, what? Your Honor, wait. Emma. The defense has an objection. A scientific objection. Right? What do you mean, right? Mr. Wright? Are you this girl's guardian? Your Honor. Oh, in a sense. Please, Your Honor, all I'm asking is for a minute of your time. Please hear me out. Mr. Edgeworth, please. I don't want to leave any loose ends. You want a minute? I'll give you 3. Oh, wow, that was quite generous. I was kind of in shock. I mean, finding out the SL9 incident referred to the Joe Dark killings. Now that she mentions it, the names of both Sky sisters were in that file. But that's when I figured it out. I mean, what Officer Marshall was trying to do that day. So I knew his fingerprint had nothing to do with the crime. That left only one thing, the other handprint. You mean the traces of blood found on Detective Gumshoe's locker? But no fingerprints were found on it, right? No, but I figured it out. If I examined it scientifically, I'd be sure to find a clue. So I ran over there and looked at it again. So, did you find something? No. No, I didn't. Thanks. Huh? Sorry, I guess I'm not much of a scientific investigator after all. Is that all? Please don't be mad. I'm just a high school student. And I'm just an attorney. But, Mr. Wright, those traces of blood are the only clue we have. If we can't find something wrong with them, please, Mr. Wright, you're a professional. If anyone can save Lana, it's you. Me? Oh boy. Time's up. Now then, Mr. Wright, with regard to the incident at the police department, does any reasonable doubt remain? It appears the defense is troubled by the other blood mark. Looking at the floor plans, a handprint was discovered around here. Is there a problem with this? Mr. Wright, I'm sorry I can't be of more use, but still, if you can't find anything wrong with that blood mark, Lana will be... Please, answer my question, Mr. Wright. We don't have all day. Yes, Your Honor. If I've needed to concentrate, it's now. What could be wrong with that handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker? Could there be something I'm missing? Okay, let's look to the court record. Oh, I would pause this now, but I feel like I'm almost done with this trial. So I don't wanna... Okay, so the handprint still happened at the time of the murder. So let's look at this. That was Gumshoe's locker right there. Behind the... Wait, it's behind the Blue Badger. So how would he get the handprint on there with the Blue Badger in front of it? It doesn't look like you can go behind the Blue Badger. It looks like it was placed like right directly in front of the locker too. Because I mean, they all walked past it, and it's not a big room. Huh. So maybe the Blue Badger was in front. I object. That's all I have for evidence. The handprint left at the crime scene clearly shows a contradiction. The only thing that seems clear is your grasping, Mr. Wright. You've been staring pretty intently at those floor plans. Tell me, is there a problem with them? Yes, this is strange. Take a good look at these floor plans. Something is missing. Missing? You mean something hasn't been drawn on there? Yeah, the Blue Badger. Yes, something that, when drawn, will completely change the meaning of the blood mark. Let us pray the defense isn't simply trying to buy time. Very well, Mr. Wright. With all this evidence here, there's got to be something I can use. The question is, which item can prove something is missing in the floor plans? Where is the Blue Badger? The Blue Badger was in the way, right? Yeah, the Blue Badger was in the time of the murder of the PD. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna go for. I can't think of anything else really. What about that piece of plywood? The Blue Badger, mascot of the police force, defendant of truth, guardian of proof. Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. Please look at this the floor plans of the crime scene. The Blue Badger is not here. So watch what happens when we put him in. This is where he was dancing at the time of the crime. Well? Well, what? Egad. That's right. So long as the Blue Badger is dancing here, it would be impossible to place a handprint at the spot on the locker. What? Egad. Egad, partner. So that means, just what exactly does that mean? It means it can't be done. What are you saying? Blood traces were undeniably found on that locker. Don't look at me, I didn't put that there. Mr. Wright, think it through scientifically. Emma. On that afternoon, Officer Meekins was the one who brought the Blue Badger to the evidence room, right? After he put it down, it would be impossible to leave a handprint on that locker. So that must mean this blood mark was left there before the Blue Badger was brought in. Just one moment, I will not allow such a far-fetched balderdash in my courtroom. Balderdash, that's quite a word. It may sound far-fetched, Your Honor, but it's the only possible explanation. On February 21st, the police department's evidence room, blood was spilled not once, but twice. But how? One time was captured on this tape, taken by the security camera. Officer Meekins cut his hand from which a trivial amount of blood fell. The problem is, the other time. Someone bled prior to the struggle shown on this tape. It had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered. That's ridiculous. I refute you. The murder portrayed in the security tape has been proven to be fake. However, that does not explain the blood mark found on the locker. So then, assuming this murder happened, you purport really happened, when did it take place? I demand you show evidence that proves it occurred. When did the first incident occur? To surmise, the defense claims that prior to the Officer Meekins being cut by Jake Marshall, who was disguised as Detective Goodman, another incident took place at the evidence room. The blood mark on the locker proves this. Very well. Then let us tell us, when did this first incident occur? Proof must be presented. Proof that shows when the first murder took place. There's only one piece of evidence that can show that. Now then, will the defense piece present the evidence? What shows when the first crime took place? Well, that would have to be the ID card sheet, wouldn't it? Yeah, the record. If it took place before that, around on Edgeworth, or the 420, the guy that entered at 420. But the only remaining person is the sevens guy. If the time took place inside the evidence room, then the perpetrator would have had to enter the room. In order to do so, an ID card is required. An ID card? Oh, the ID card record. Officer Meekins brought by the Blue Badger panel to the evidence room at, let's see here, at 4:50. The crime took place before that, then it would be 4:40. Miles Edgeworth, what have you done? I never figured you had the nerve, boy. Put off that, witness. It doesn't take a lot of thought to figure out it couldn't have been me. Oh, nope, I ain't getting it. I'm afraid I don't understand either. It's clear from the luminol test that blood was there. However, when the second crime took place, both Officer Meekins and Officer Marshall failed to notice the blood. That means the blood from the first crime was wiped away by the real murderer. I would have just 10 minutes to murder the victim, carry his body away, and clean up the blood. Unfortunately, that's physically impossible. That would mean the crime must have taken place before Mr. Edgeworth entered the evidence room. Let's look at the chart again. 7777777. Whoever the person is. There's only one card number remaining. 77777. Talk about a lucky number. But wait, that doesn't make sense. How could Officer Goodman have entered the evidence room? Since there's no record of his card being used beforehand, he must have entered along with the real murderer. That's the only plausible explanation. He went in with 777. I'm just gonna call it sevens. Mr. Edgeworth, please look into this ASAP. Find out who the ID number is. 7777777777777. That's one seven's too many, Your Honor. Unfortunately, I'm unable to look up the owner of that ID card, at least at present. What? Explain yourself, son. The ID number 7s belongs to someone with the rank higher of captain or higher. Someone who is a so-called executed officer. We don't have the authority to inquire into such a person's identity. Is that Gant? But that's ridiculous. Just how... I'm not finished talking, Mr. Wright. There is one situation in which we can be granted such authority. If an official charge is filed against an executive is accepted. An official charge? You're all alike, aren't you? With your cover-ups and your forgeries. That's how the prosecutor office operates. I take pride in my work, Officer Marshall. I would appreciate it if you kept your slander to yourself. Slander, is it? Okay. Let me ask you a question. Yes? No, not to you. To her, the defendant sitting over there. Your own little executive. Lana? Don't be stupid. She's been charged with murder. Of course we've looked her up her ID number. And it's not 777. Don't play me a fool, partner. That's not what I want to ask. All I want to know is one thing. About that incident. The SL9 incident. Answer me this, Chief Prosecutor. In the trial 2 years ago, did you really use legitimate evidence? Do you need the witness to repeat his question, Chief Prosecutor? I heard him fine, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, I was in charge of the prosecution for this trial. At the time, occasionally, we felt the powerlessness of the law. At least, I did. Lana, I became a prosecutor in order to suppress the crime with the law. But before I realized it, we were the ones being suppressed by the law. Defendant, just what are you saying? I'll ask you again, Chief Prosecutor. During that trial 2 years ago, did you really present all the evidence in court? Can you look at me, an investigator, in the crowd, in the eye, and say you did? Chief Prosecutor, you didn't. I don't have to, Officer Marshall. Why don't you answer him? Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to, in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. But Lana, even if it involved forging evidence. See? That's what I'm talking about. No. No! Oh boy. Order, 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 order! Lana's remarks caused such a stir. The chaos in the courtroom could not be quelled. The conclusion of the trial would have to wait until the following day. To be continued. Oh man, this is really getting interesting. It's really heating up. Saves clear stage up to this point. Yes. February 24th. Man, this is a really long trial. Case or whatever. Anyway, I'm gonna pause this here.